everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Creative Visions TV. I'm your host, Karen Dahlman, and I've got something really fun in store for us. I have a gentleman who'll be joining us shortly, and he's going to join me for actually 5 different episodes. Because this guy really knows his talking boards, and you guys have been asking for more information about Ouija board, talking boards, spirit boards, so he's the guy. Now, he's been on the show before, but before I introduce him, let me say this. I call him the Wizard of Ouija, and I'll get into why that is. Now, you guys know the women of Ouija, right? Marla Martinson and myself get together and talk about the Ouija board.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Women of Ouija.
And you guys know the Ouija Whisperer, who's Rodney, my board partner. Hello everybody, hello friends, welcome to the episode today. This is Creative Visions TV, and I'm your host, Karen Dahlman, and here's Rodney, the Ouija Whisperer.
That's me, I guess.
Thank you for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
And you have met this gentleman before, but I call him the Wizard of Ouija because, you guys, he is the man behind the curtain who knows the mystical, mystifying, magical aspects to the talking board. So, without further ado, I'd love for you all to meet my good friend, Gene Orlando. Welcome, Gene.
Hi, Karen. Great to see you.
So good to see you. You guys, I gotta say, between the two of us, Gene, this is gonna sound really weird. We have over 100 years of experience using the board.
Can you believe it? It seems unbelievable, doesn't it?
I know. It seems like just yesterday getting started, and here we are. Who knew? Who knew we'd be here after all these years of using the board, right?
Absolutely.
So what gets you here? What brought you to this point of just having this extensive knowledge of the board? You guys, his collection is probably one of the world's largest, most diversified collection. It's online, museumoftalkingboards.com. But Gene, what brought you to this point where we are today talking about this?
Well, it's interesting. You know, I've always been interested in the occult and in Ouija boards and strange and wonderful things that go bump in the night. It's kind of been a thing of mine since I was a small boy. But in the early days of the internet, I thought it would be interesting to start a website about Ouija boards because there was nothing online. And what a wonderful way to bring people together with similar interests, I thought. So I started the Museum of Talking Boards. And for me, it was more of a magical kind of expression. It was a way to throw a pebble into a pond and see just how far the ripples would go. So it was a magical working of sorts. And it's just kind of bloomed from there.
I mean, it's so extensive, you guys. I knew about this website for years. It was since like the early 90s, early mid-90s, I think it came out. I have been following Gene, you guys. It's so funny. I've been following him for years. I mean, like, gosh, probably at least 20 years before I met you, I think. But I met Gene at OuijaCon, you guys, in 2015. And Gene, I think you knew about me because you read one of my books at that point. Is that right?
Right, yeah.
So when we met, we're like, okay, we know each other, but here we were, finally meeting. And you guys, he's one of the founding members of the Talking Board Historical Society. So I got a chance to really work closely with Gene on our project. So it's been just incredible getting to know him, but also really picking his brain about the things he explores and discovers. He has people writing him from around the world and approaching him for project and ideas, but also they have questions they ask him. And I'm telling you, you might even want to pause this video, you guys, seriously, pause it, and go check out museumoftalkingboards.com because you're going to find a plethora, an interesting plethora of the mysterious nature behind these boards. But, Gene, okay, let's dispel a big myth here, okay? We got to start it out this way. And by the way, you guys, this episode, we are going to be talking about the opinions behind the Ouija board. So, all right, Gene, did the Ouija board get started in ancient Greece or ancient China?
No.
Okay. Tell us more.
Well, the Ouija board actually began in 1890, but its precursor to that goes back to 1848, which was with the Fox sisters and their spirit wrappings. So it actually has a long history with early talking boards.
So, okay, so Okay, this is what you guys got to think about. There's always been divination used, you guys. Divination goes back to the beginning of the dawn of man's time, because we always want to know what's this life about? Where are we going? Where do we come from? How do we commune with the unseen dimensions? And so there's always been divination. And so there was the throwing of stones, the throwing of bones, the laying of bones, and all kinds of interesting tools they use, but that doesn't make it a Ouija board. And if you stay tuned, in our next episode, we'll get more into that. But this episode, we just wanted to kick off by talking about some really cool places to, find out more about the boards, but also to know more about our backgrounds. Now, Gene shared with you a little bit about how he got into doing the museum. But Gene, what made you start using the boards? Talk about that a little bit.
Well, it's fun to use a Ouija board. You can sit down, you can move the planchette around and get some interesting responses. And it doesn't matter whether you're conjuring spirits or if you're a believer in the spiritualist theory, or if you're using your brain and just kind of digging into your inner mind and finding out what you're thinking about. It's a wonderful way of sort of self-introspection as well.
I agree with that, you guys. And so I use the board very similarly to Gene. I use it for more self-reflection and to get information. But you guys also know, if you follow me, I do talk to spirit beings that I call the guides. But Gene, I started talking to the dead because that's what I thought, you could do with this board. And then I started using it to reach like my angels or the animal kingdom or extraterrestrials or the guides or ethereal beings, you guys. The list goes on and on, as whatever you believe. We'll get more into that. But we just wanted to give you a little brief background of ourselves. I also write a lot about the Ouija board, and I do that on my website, free blogs, and of course you guys know this channel. So I think between Gene and I both, we really enjoy this tool, and we just want to really share it with the public. And Gene, I got to say, you're one of the people I know that really looks at it the board more practically. Like, hey, this is a cool tool, and matter of fact, let's use it.
Right. Well, people can use the board in different ways. And as I've said it before, you can be a believer or a non-believer. You can be a total skeptic, and you can still gain some enjoyment from the Ouija board. This is hard for a lot of people to understand. They figure you've got to be either one way or the other. And people will say, Ouija boards are just, I don't believe in Ouija boards, they just, but they can work for everybody. I use it as an inner tool to listen to my own inner thoughts. This is the way it works for me. So when I'm using the planchette and it's spelling out things, sometimes it gives me surprising, interesting answers. I don't necessarily think that I'm contacting a spirit because, these things are unknowable. But when I get answers, they sound like I'm talking to myself, only, like I said to you before, a lot more intelligent. So that's fun. That's a fun way to do it for me.
Well, Gene, you are talking to a spirit. You're talking to your inner spirit.
Talking to my inner spirit. So you can be a believer, a non-believer, a total skeptic. It doesn't matter. The Ouija board has something for everyone. And also, as a collectible, Ouija boards are incredibly collectible. And the history, the lore, the magic of the Ouija board is something really, really attractive. So I try to talk to non-believers who would quickly dismiss it as being a child's toy or something that you play with, as something much, much more. And it's important to get into it and take a close look. You find it's a lot of fun.
Yeah, there's so much more to them. And you guys, you hear somebody say, you must use the Ouija board this way, or you can only do this. I go, those are just opinions, you guys. And even what Jane and I are saying today, what resonates and might work for you and what it may not. So, if it resonates, try it. If not, throw it out. The thing here is that nobody has the answers, but we're here to share some of our opinions and what we've learned, and also research, historical research on this tool that we've learned over the years from the many years we've been using them and collecting them and researching them. So that's why we're here. Gene and I, like I mentioned before, we get written a lot of questions a lot of emails will come to us. We see it in the Ouija board groups, and I get it on my website or on YouTube channel here. It's people really are searching, for answers and about this tool, how to use it. And so we're just going to give you our opinions as we share. Like I said, Jean will be with me for 5 of these episodes. This is our first one, and throughout that we're going to be sharing so much more information. But until then, you guys, Jean, let's talk about some of the really cool websites they can go to learn more information on their own.
Sure. Well, of course, there's mine, museumofboards.com. There's williamfold.com, which covers the history of William Fold, who was one of the early makers of the Ouija boards, very important. There's mysteriousplanchet.com, which is very good on spiritualism and on planchettes, a wonderful site. So there are some good sites out there to look at and really get some accurate information. That's a problem with this, is a lot of sites have information, but it's not necessarily accurate, not true. A lot of them, they're based on opinion and folklore and that sort of thing. And let's just get opinion out of the way. Everybody has an opinion, but what's the difference between Ouija opinion and Ouija fact? Well, this is the way it goes. If you tell me that you're talking to your dead relatives, that's fine. I'm not going to argue with that. We're not going to, this is you. This is your experience. This is your story. But if you tell me that Ouija boards were made in ancient China, or you tell me that before the film The Exorcist, the Ouija board was a harmless parlor game and just a fun toy that no one took seriously, then we've got some talking to do, because we're talking about historical aspects that we can actually look back on and see, and I can prove that this is fact, not fiction. So there's a difference between opinion and Ouija fact.
And you guys, Jean also coined the word Ouijastician, but we'll get into that more in another episode. But this is why I'm having him on the show to co-host with me, because he has spent all these years researching these boards. And the 3 websites he mentioned are awesome. Hey, Jean, you brought a board to show us today that's actually from your museum. Would you like to share that with us?
Yeah, sure. So this is one of my favorite boards, and I never get tired of showing it. I don't think people get tired of seeing it. But this is a metal board. It's a mystifying oracle made by William Fold right at the beginning of the Great Depression. And that was kind of a problem because it was more expensive than a regular wooden board. So they unfortunately were recalled and used for their metal. At least that's how the story goes. But this is an amazing thing. It has bumps all over it. And it's used with this planchette, this massive thing. It's the size of a clothes iron here. And it's a light up planchette. There's actually a battery inside that lights a bulb. And as the planchette travels over the board, it hits these bumps and it will light up. So this was one of the absolutely remarkable boards that came out of the 1930s that I have, and it's one of my favorites. It's one of my favorites. It's also the first use of this figure down here that some of you may recognize from later Ouija boards.
Very, very cool. So you guys go to his website, again, museumoftalkingboards.com. You'll see that board there and many others. Now, my website is KarenADahlman.com. We're there. I talk about using the board and just my experiences, again, my opinions on how I've been using the board. And then I also will write blogs, and all that is for free. And you can read some of the channel messages I get. So anyway, you guys, thank you so much for joining us today. Now, the next episode we're going to be getting into the Ouija board history. So be sure to tune in next time. And Jean, thank you so much for being here today. And I look forward to seeing you next time.
See you then.
Bye, guys.